Do you have foot pain that's just killing you, especially in the morning when you get out of bed? It's just not getting better, don't know what to do? You might have plantar fasciitis. Stick around, we're going to talk about it next. Foot pain can be agonizing. Every step you take on that single point can just make you crazy. Well, if you don't know what is causing it and you haven't been to a doctor, the first thing I'll tell you, we got to get to the bottom of why your foot is hurting. It could be a bone issue, a ligament issue, or a soft tissue problem. And no matter which one it is or a combination, you're not going to feel right until you get it taken care of. Today, we're going to talk about one of the more common causes of foot pain, and it's called plantar fasciitis. The reason it's called plantar fasciitis, by the way, is because there's a tissue called the plantar fascia. And if we were looking at your arch, if this is your foot that we're looking at, and you see this curve right here, if we turned this here, you would see actually a piece of tissue and a fascial tissue, and it just kind of stretches from the front of the foot back onto the heel. And when that foot is going through this compression of steps, and think about this, every time you step 10 to 12,000 times a day, you're going to actually drop your arch. It's going to act like a spring. Well, over time, if that arch isn't coming back and being supported with good muscular structure, that kind of thing, it's going to wear that fascia out. It's going to start to stretch it. Well, here's the problem with that. When that fascia stretches, it's attached onto the heel of the foot, and it's going to start pulling and pulling and pulling. So originally, the tissue gets irritated. That's the plantar fasciitis. And just so you know, the term itis in anything that you see from here going forward means inflammation. So plantar fasciitis means inflammation of the plantar fascia. Now, if we have plantar fasciitis long enough where that tissue is pulling on the heel attachment, it's going to create a bone spur. So if you've heard of bone spurs, that's just chronic, untreated plantar fasciitis. That's why this gets to be a big deal, because those bone spurs, sometimes you have to have those surgically removed because they can get so big, be so painful. So the cause of plantar fasciitis, basically again to reiterate, is just a constant standing on an arch that's too flat. So if you're standing and walking on an arch that's not high enough, it's going to stretch the tissue, irritate it, and cause this condition. So what do we do to fix it? A couple things. Number one, you can take ice on that tissue after working on it and calm it down. Put ice for about 10 minutes on, and 10 minutes means that you're gonna feel the cold for 10 minutes. So it's not necessarily as soon as you apply it, but once you start feeling cold, about 10 minutes. That's the first thing. The next thing is take your foot over, you can use a golf ball, you can use a tennis ball, you can use a foam roller, and simply roll that arch back and forth across that surface, but not so hard that it's really causing a lot of pain, because then you can actually be irritating it. So just work around it and make sure you're acting like a gentle massage. The third thing that you can do for plantar fasciitis is to stretch the calf muscle. If you have tight calf muscles, the way the calf runs down the back of the leg and around the foot, it can help pull that as well, so you put even more pressure on the plantar fascia. So making sure that your calves are nice and loose is a very easy way. You can look up a ton of calf stretches that you can find. The final way that I'll tell you about helping with plantar fasciitis, if you need it, and this would be something that you would want to go to a podiatrist, a chiropractor, a physical therapist, someone who knows gait mechanics and biomechanics of the foot, is an orthotic. This happens to be my orthotic. This is the one I actually wear. It's full length, and I use this in all of my tennis shoes and some of my wider dress shoes, and then I have one that's about this long that I use for only my very narrow dress shoes, because these kind of things they're too thick, they won't fit in there. But anyway, what you can see here is there's a gap right here. And that gap is actually lifting my arch, so that when my arch is sitting and I'm walking, it's not pressing down, irritating that plantar fascia. So a good pair of you can even try an off-the-shelf orthotic, and if it helps you, but then that starts to continue to come back, then you might need a custom made like this one. So to recap, plantar fasciitis means that the tissue on the bottom of the foot is really irritated. You got to get it taken care of so that it doesn't eventually lead to a bone spur. That's number one. Treat it with ice and rest. Treat it with stretching of the calf. Treat it with rolling of the tissue. And when necessary, look at getting an orthotic. So hopefully that helps you with plantar fascia. It happens often, again, from people who are standing, or people who have been in a car accident or some other kind of thing where their foot just really gets a big trauma. Get it taken care of, and your feet will love you. So until next time, remember, your health matters.